And we are back
with more
live from the Heartland. That was, I think we've been listening to Miles Coyne and the Rusty Nickel Band.
And I got to tell you, one of the guys who plays the tuba, and I'm not sure what he plays in the Miles Coyne and the Rusty Nickel Band, is Grant Stesko. He plays the bass. He is our on-site engineer here every week. He is leaving a little bit early today because he's a Minnesota fan and they are playing Northwestern. He's going to the game. And good luck. At least it's a Midwestern team.
All right, we're hoping to lower the music and bring up the guests.
All right, I wanted to make one announcement. A very special event coming up on Tuesday night at 7 p.m., pretty close to sharp. And we have Chick Street Man, who is currently performing in Pullman Porter Blues downtown at the Goodman Theater. He's a wonderful performer. We had him on the show a few weeks ago, and we just said, boy, it'd be great if you could play here. He said, well, I'd be up for it. So there's no charge for this event. It's come out and meet other people who listen to the show. Tuesday night, the 22nd. You're going to be really glad you came out to hear Chick Street Man.
Yeah, that'd be fun to have him again. And we're thinking of our friend Lynn Orman, who is recuperating from some kind of accident she had down south. We're hoping that she'll be back in Chicago and in one piece by the show on Tuesday night. Anyway, it's very interesting to have this guy doing this work at this moment.
Yeah, we
right
just for you people who are listening in, we not only have the first weekend where there's no sitting outside. Well, people are welcome to, but it's a little chilly, and we got a packed house and many groups talking away. Some people listening to what we're doing up here, and outside the window, right behind our backs, there's a guy on a ladder climbing up, and we don't know if he's working on the roof, on the parapet wall, if he's working for the city.
He's tuck pointing.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, I'm glad he's doing it with us because we don't have a big enough curtain to block out this sunlight. All right, let's get rolling. You are listening to Live from the Heartland show. We're here every Saturday. It's Michael James and Katie Hogan.
Hi,
and
Penelope.
We have a guest.
Hi, Penny.
Hi, Katie.
Good morning.
Hi, Michael.
And welcome.
Thank you.
It's been since our wonderful event that we worked on together about a month or two ago. July. Now it's
Which one
up
event
there.
was that one?
Oh, that was the one with Cunningham and the men.
Oh, that was the one, political repression in the era of Obama.
Right. That was a great night. And you were instrumental in pulling that off, Penny. And so we've got another event coming up tomorrow, quite different. I love the span of your interest and your dialogue, your ability to dialogue across so many different things. Tomorrow it's going to be The Dream of Anarchy and the Anarchy of Dreams. Urgent communiques from the crossroads of anarchy and surrealism. What does that mean?
Well, it's an interesting title, and there is a big range between the People's Law Office and surrealism, but basically there is something in common in that we're both for a better world and have a philosophy of liberation, and an idea that everybody should have a say in what's going on, and basically we can work together to do things that are important. So now, as far as surrealism and anarchism, well, anarchism is one of the last places where all sorts of people with many, many different ideas meet and are welcome. So if you go to some anarchist book fair or an anarchist gathering, you'll find a huge range of people with a stunning range of new ideas, and they've usually produced beautiful pamphlets and drawings and poems, and so it's one of the best places to be, and surrealists feel very comfortable there. So I suppose that's one of the connections between anarchism and surrealism. Now, Ron himself is a surrealist in spirit and in theory, and so he is always writing about surrealism, and he did a book about surrealism called Surrealist Subversions. So there's a big connection there.
Have you known him for a long time, personally, or?
Yeah. I think, I'm not sure when we first met him, maybe in the 70s, but then during the Haymarket anniversary in 1986, we were at the same demonstrations and walking for a long time together, and we realized how much we had in common. At that time, he was teaching down in Springfield.
Where's his home now?
His home now is in Denman Island. It's off Vancouver in Canada.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I caught wind of where he was reading like 2 nights ago, and I put on Facebook, well, in 2 days he'll be in Chicago and reading at the Heartland. But
Ron Sikorski actually was a guest on this show.
And long ago was that?
Well, I don't have a...
Yeah.
It all blends together for me now.
Okay, I got you.
And but he has a radio show, and I think there was something about his radio show was either a pirate show. You know, it was a small
pirated radio.
Do you remember what that was all about? Because you helped bring him here last time he was here, which was a few years back.
Well, he did do a book on pirate radio, how you can do it yourself. It's generally a short-range station, and it's all community, put together by the community. They have cheap equipment and are able to do programming. And so they have a lot of freedom about what they can do. They don't have to have sponsors. They have local people come in and talk. And of course, one of the major things of anarchism today, and especially Ron, is trying to create a community. In a sense, one of the things we've been trying to do in Rogers Park for a long time, too.
Sure.
But the little island that they're on at the moment has a bunch of like-minded people, so they keep the radio station going there. I think they had one in Springfield formerly, but, that's probably still going too.
Yeah. Pirate radio stations, I love the whole concept of. There was a guy in Crestone, Colorado, when I was visiting there, who was broadcasting out of a thing that was smaller than a trailer. I mean, looked like an outhouse. And I wanted to go and be on his radio station.
Oh, jeez.
I did while I was there. I was there for a month. Anyway, so in addition to Ron reading from his books and writings, it looks to me like you are also going to do some reading as well tomorrow?
Well, I'll do some reading and some talking, probably about Surrealist Women, because I did a book called Surrealist Women, and I like to represent women in what's going on. So often happens that they're not represented enough. So,
and also Gail Aaron's.
Gail Aaron is a longtime anarchist and prison activist, in a sense that she tries to get out word about what's going on in the prisons and how people are being treated unfairly and how the justice system works. But at the same time, she is an artist and a surrealist. So I'm not quite sure what she's going to talk about, but I know it's going to be interesting.
So this is a free of charge event tomorrow, right, Michael?
Yeah, 3 to 5 here, right in this very room.
3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
And it'll be interesting because if there's people from outside not able to eat outside, want to eat inside, it'll be a room full of people eating and a room full of people listening to the anarchist poets. It'll be cool. A little clash.
We'll try to be rowdy.
Unity.
Your basic Heartland mix.
I would be interested in talking to Gail Aaron when she's here, too, about prisons and what's going on, because, we have a situation in the country that more and more people are going to jail for sometimes lesser and lesser offenses, and the conditions in prisons are pretty dire in many ways, and in many places they cut education out of any kind of rehabilitation notion is no longer in the forefront of people going off to prison. And I was just up in Minnesota and Wisconsin to talk to an old friend of mine who has been teaching, or for many years taught, at Stillwater Prison. And I remember the time I went into prison, and these guys really were interested in in hearing what people were doing on the outside and were doing to bring about change. And I was glad to hear that they still, at least in Minnesota, still have some educational function going on in the prison. Okay, that said, Penny, do you have a poem of yours that you could share with us?
Well, actually, I didn't bring any, Michael. I'm sorry, but I will have one Sunday.
Okay, that's tomorrow. One of the things that you do besides help us put together events here is you publish books. And would you just give us a little hint about the Charles Kerr Press that you're involved with? You and your late husband Franklin ran it for many years, and we know that it goes back to the late 1800s, and it was a left-wing press here in Chicago, and now its home resides here in Rogers Park. Give us a little info on that.
It was established 1886, the same year as Haymarket, and Charles H. Kerr came down from Madison, Wisconsin. He was a young man, wanted to start a publishing company. It was Unitarian-oriented at first, but he was very influenced by events that happened. So he ended up, the first thing he did was publish a book on the Pullman strike. And he also published things relating to political events of the day, and it became more and more political. So by the turn of the century, they were publishing a journal called the International Socialist Review. And that went on for many years, at least 10 or 15 years before it was shut down because of the First World War. It was shut down because they didn't permit it to be mailed out, and at that time you had to mail stuff out to have a journal.
Right.
So he also published Karl Marx's Kapital in the U.S. He was the first publisher of Kapital in the U.S. And over the years, he published the autobiography of Mother Jones, which incidentally was not a big hit when he published it. For some reason or another, it didn't catch on, and Mother Jones was older and didn't particularly promote it. But then it was republished again in the 1970s, and since then it's gone through more editions than I can remember. And there's a magazine named after it, and there's been children's books of Mother Jones.
We interviewed Mother Jones on this radio show in the person of Betsy, who was playing her in a theatrical piece.
Yeah.
She was actually quite good.
Was that the same one that I got to play Big Bill Haywood?
Yeah, that was.
I think that might have been.
So also in the 70s they published a biography of Lucy Parsons, and since then she's become quite well known in the radical and the Chicago movement also.
Right.
Now we got involved in the 70s and published many books. We actually published one with an introduction by Ron Sikulski. It was the Golden Book of Springfield by Vachel Lindsay. And Ron wrote the introduction. Now this is a bizarre book in a sense that it's Lindsay's sort of imagined utopia in Springfield, Illinois. And it has as a heroine a Native American woman. So it's a very unusual book. But we've published a lot of unusual books, some related to Surrealism, some by David Roediger, the famous scholar.
Did you actually publish any of the Ron Sikulski books?
No.
But you do have his books here.
Yeah, we have his books here, Swift Wind, Scratching the Tiger's Belly, and Creating Anarchy. Mm-hmm. And Surrealist Subversions was published by Atana Media. So except for the Vachel Lindsay book, we haven't really published any of Ron's books. But we hope to in the future, because he's still very active as a writer and thinker. In fact, I think he's one of the best known writers in the anarchist field, and maybe even in the surrealist field. So if you want to know what's going on, it will be a perfect time to come and ask.
Well, I want to thank you for seeing the Heartland as an opportunity for you to create platforms for these kind of productions. I really appreciate that. I think the community says thank you to you, because where else can they go to find out stuff like this and hear people like Ron here in Chicago? Not that many places.
Yeah.
So once again, I think Rogers Park is lucky to have you, to have Kerr Publishing, and and this joint too.
And Heartland Cafe,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
One of the reasons I moved to Rogers Park was Heartland Cafe was here.
That's good. We're glad we're here. I'm glad you're
I
here.
wish I had a 10-pound bag of 20s for every time I heard that.
All right.
not really.
Let's hear it for Penny Rosemont. She'll be here reading poetry tomorrow along with Ron Sikolsky and Gail Aaron.
3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Yep. And
Gail Aaron.
Aaron's, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Never
All right.
mind.
All right, little music, please. We'll be right back with more Live from the Heartland. We're going to have the Howard Area Community Center folks coming up here, and we'll be right back. Hey, will you check and see if they got any fans in the kitchen? I'm going to open that door. Window.
Thank you, baby.